Hello, everybody. So now we are into book 3, and book 3 is entitled Fire. The first chapter in this book is entitled Sasaki Kojiro. And again, I apologize for my pronunciation throughout the entire book. I'm 100% sure I mispronounced everything. So, Sasaki Kojiro. This here is Musashi's counterpart in terms of opponent in the martial art in 1600 Japan. Although he is not physically introduced in this chapter, he is introduced nonetheless. So I'm going to highlight something here that's other than Sasaki Kojiro, is more or less Matahachi's current state and the path that he has selected. The path of the samurai is hard, it's narrow. The opposite path is the easy, the shortcuts, the hacks, as they call it in today's life. Here's a quick get-rich scheme. That's what Matahachi has selected. So to summarize real quick, I haven't focused on Matahachi at all in the previous chapters. He is sprinkled in between chapters and paragraphs throughout the book leading up to this chapter here. But Matahachi has essentially run off with an older lady. She is considered to be a woman of the night, so she entertains men such as the samurais, along with her daughter. Their profession is of the oldest profession on the planet, right? So he is living with her. She's basically the provider, the bread earner, while Matahachi's just drunk, drinking sake in her house, in her bedroom. So he finally gets sick of his life. He reflects a little bit and says, hey, my life is a disaster. And he finally gets a job at a castle where he's moving boulders, digging up boulders to build the ramparts of a castle. And here a samurai comes by and says, hey, can you keep an eye out for the guards and let me know when they're coming? And Matahachi fails to do that. So the samurai gets in trouble for what they think is spying, but the samurai is delivering a letter to Sasaki Kojiro. Inevitably, that samurai, he tries to escape and gets caught and gets beaten pretty badly. So here we go. Poor wretch, thought Matahachi. If he was studying seriously, he must have had some great ambition in life. Wonder where he's from, if his parents are still alive. Matahachi was seized by a particular doubt. Was he really bemoaning the man's fate, or was he bothered by the vagueness of his own future? For a man with ambition, he reflected, there ought to be a clever way to get ahead. This was an age that fanned the hopes of the young, urged them to cherish a dream, prodded them to improve their status in life. An age indeed in which even someone like Matahachi might have visions of rising from nothing to become the master of a castle. A modestly talented warrior could get by simply by traveling from temple to temple and living on the charity of the priests. If he was lucky, he might be taken in by one of the provincial gentry, and if he was still more fortunate, might receive a stipend from a daimyo. Still, of all the young men who set out with high hopes, only 1 in 1,000 actually ended up finding a position with acceptable income. The rest had to be content with what satisfaction they had derived from the knowledge that theirs was a difficult and dangerous calling. As Matahachi contemplated the samurai lying before him, the whole idea began to seem utterly stupid. Where could the path Musashi was following possibly lead? Matahachi's desire to equal or surpass his boyhood friend hadn't abated, but the sight of the bloodied warrior made the way of the sword seem vain and foolish. Horror-stricken, he realized that the warrior was moving, and his train of thought stopped short. The man's hand reached out like a turtle's flipper and clawed at the ground. Feebly, he lifted his torso, raised his head, and pulled the rope taut. Matahachi could hardly believe his eyes. As the man inched along the ground, he dragged behind him the 400-pound rock securing his rope. 1 foot, 2 feet. It was a display of superhuman strength. No muscle man on any rock-hauling crew could have done it. Though many boasted of the strength of 10 or 20 men, the samurai lying on the threshold of death was possessed by some demonic force, which enabled him to far surpass the power of an ordinary mortal. So I wanted to highlight that because Matahachi has a problem. His problem boils down to shortcuts. Everything has to be a shortcut. He justifies everything as he's the victim of his circumstances, which in reality, when we all look at it, we're all a product of our choices, and he has chosen the easy path, the comforts of life, right? And this samurai here displays exactly the opposite. The samurai is essentially going to pass away, but he still has the fortitude to deliver the message that he's got in his pocket. The chapter leads up to that. He's got a certificate for Sasaki Kojiro in his pocket, and he was to deliver it to him, and he still, the samurai still wants to accomplish his mission. This warrior, he has a purpose. Matahachi's floating out there doing nothing. He has no purpose. There's no purpose for Matahachi to be around, although he's trying to figure it out. But again, he's picking shortcuts. In the end, Matahachi ends up pickpocketing this samurai on the brink of death and steals his money and the certificate. Matahachi has a lot to learn, and I think we can learn from this little passage here of the samurai on the ground with a mission, trying to accomplish his mission still, although he's tied down and he's held back, but he's still picking the right path. Matahachi has chosen the easy path. Peace, everyone. And be well.